G'day all. I would just like to show you what I'm doing here in regard to weathering. I've done, and these aren't all my locomotives here, so I don't think I've come into money or something. But what I've been doing is just doing a bulk weathering deal. So I like to do them all in bulk. I find it's easy to do, and I just there's a couple of guys want to see how I do what I do, so I thought I'd better put something on video and show you what I do. So this is basically the finished product here. It's a GWU, and the first thing I do is actually, if you have a close look at this model, you'll see there's lots of little bits of weeping in here with grime and stuff like that, which is per prototype. So to get that, you need to do a wash. Okay, now you can buy washes and stuff like that. I don't bother. I just use Humbrol paints, these ones here. So one of my favourite colours for that sort of thing is this sort of chocolatey colour. It's 98. And then I mix it, as I can see, with 64, or to lighten her up or darken it off, you need the matte 33. If you need to really do a lot of lighting up, then you just use the matte 34. And you always need a bit of red. Don't tell anyone that says, oh, you don't need red. Yeah, you do. You need red. So 73 is there. So, and this one here I think is 32. So these are all nice, good colours. I mix them up reasonably together, sort of thing, and create a. And this is the palette I sort of use as one of them. So it gives you an idea. And all you do is you just put in some mineral turpentine, because this stuff really loves mineral turpentine, the Humbrol paints. And then you get a wide brush like this, and you just dab it in like that. You'll mix it between the two. You have one just full of mineral turpentine. You slowly add it to the mix that you've got there. If you do that, therefore, then it doesn't become too rich, you know, and you can slowly add the paint. And of course, the beauty of this is that if you do that properly, you can just wash it like that. Big brush, long broad strokes, and the capillary action will produce these little spots here. Okay, so you don't have to do a lot of detail to get that done. You just gently and consistently go through that. So that gets the sides done. Okay, you do a bit of the front and stuff like that. And then for a lighter colour, you'll do down here. Okay, so the bogies and the underframe are all done the same way, just very lightly. Just turn upside down, you can sort of just see the difference. See the difference in colour there? So that gives you an idea. So you need a little bit more red and stuff like that to put that in there. So along with that, after I've actually put that wash, so two washes, so one up here and a separate one down here, give it a day to dry. It takes a day for the wash to dry, otherwise you end up with fingerprints all over it. So then you mix up some, in this case I mixed up some AIM weathering powders, so these are these fellas here. And you pre-mix it. So that's the mix I made there for, let's just get some focus in there. There we are. So I made up a mix there, and then use a little brush. Again, I got these ones just from Bunnings, not tiny, all right. And you just push it in like that, okay, around the areas underneath the frame, so you can get up underneath it like that. Get up underneath there, okay. So it'll adhere to all little bits of the Humbrol wash as well, so which sort of gives it nice and even. And of course you can just brush off a little bit of detail as you go as well, because obviously certain areas don't get as much gunge as others. So the idea here is to be fairly consistent into the nooks and crannies, but don't go overboard, because if you turn around, I'll turn this fella around here. You can see you can have areas like this with the air cleaners, and they'll show the silver still coming through. So you haven't sort of, you know, it's not thick enough to obscure colour. It's still a thin wash, so that it enables all that to occur. So then you got your locos pretty much done like that. So it's all pretty much good. You've got a little bit of gunge on the roof. You don't need a whole stack on that. And the next step is I use this sort of stuff. This is True Colour paint. Okay, I get this. It's available in Australia from a nice guy up in Ballarat, I believe. And here's his little pamphlet, I guess. And wouldn't you believe it? There's one of my blogs. So he actually used it quite happily. So so basically, I grab a black, okay, but you don't, for your first run over the roof of these things, you want to have a bit of light primer with it, okay. If you have it jet black, you've got nowhere to go. You need to start with a lighter, sort of grimier colour. You can add a bit of white as well. I definitely recommend some rich oxide, a little bit, just a tiny bit, and you can kick it back with a bit of orange, or if you need to be a bit more orangey, a bit of yellow reefer yellow, sorry, and you'll get a colour that really works for you. And as you can see here, it gives it slightly sort of grimy sort of colour. So you don't want a black. So now that colour basically went on these models. They go from here that way. So just with a spray gun across like that. The other thing with it is acetone based. So this is the stuff I use. It's not water based per se. It's acetone. It's okay. It's good stuff. I usually mix that up 50-50. So 50% acetone, 50% paint. If you put too much paint in, then you'll find it's hard to control this. So you put pass over pass over pass over pass, and eventually you'll get a fine. See down here, it's very dark, or not dark, but it's got the effect that I need. And then here's a bit lighter, and there's almost none here. So that's how I do those. So they're all done the same way. All these fellas are all the same way. So there we go. There's some NRs amongst that as well. So, and then the final thing. Oh, not the final. The other thing I'll do is I'll actually spray across the bottom here a mix very similar to this road grime. Okay, so again using those colours, and again having it at 50%. So so that gives you the bottom bit, and then that top, and then the final bit is I use 50% acetone and black, and I just do the exhausts. Which will, as you can see over here, if you do that, you can see the exhaust areas just a bit blacker than everywhere else. Okay, so that sort of works. Now, I won't show you every single one, but some of these come out pretty well. You can sort of see there. Again, the roof, that's just with a brush. All that's with a brush. You just let the capillary action do the work, and then you've got, you add into all of those other details, and it gives you a pretty good look. So, and then you've got these fellas here. I found these were pretty cool. And it's, I don't know when Glenn gets them, but obviously he loves his Bond image stuff. And the roof here, you can see there that you had to sort of de-black it and then blacken the area again. So it's sort of semi-repetitive in a way. Believe it or not, that is actually real on the prototype of LDP2. So so yeah, that's a little bit of a change. And the MRLs, they don't need to be too blackened. They keep them reasonably clean, and I would guess that's probably because they don't go through any tunnels. But again, the back of them gets pretty grimy. Okay, but you still need that. As you can see, if I just left that straight black, this would all disappear. So you need to cut that with a grimy lighter colour, and that'll give you the look that you're after. So ARG, AC come out quite nice. So again, with the GEs, there's a lot of grime. I mean, we all know they use up oil like a bastard. but that is what it is. And that's the end result. You end up with a lot of oil stains from those. This one here, this was a bit more difficult than I first thought. I have found a shot of this, and it's really faded, so I had to cut some white into it. I'm not really happy with using white as a fade, but it's acceptable as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it probably takes a lot longer to mix up the colours and do that. So the misting is acceptable, but it ends up getting a bit more too uniform for my liking. And usually if you've got a fade, anything will fade. It'll do it unevenly, okay? So you're sort of better off with the brushes. Now, of course, I did there's a QRN one as well. Just a chair. Okay, and again, the QRNs, bit on the top, especially down the centre, and give it that sort of look. Okay, again, all that's done. All the detail you can see that punches like in here, just in there. Oh, can't get it. There it is. Okay, so yeah, Glenn should be happy. I'll be delivering these this month to him, so he'll be a happy lad. So that keeps him all in his ultra modern stuff. Now, the last thing here to show you is some CKs. All right. So now a couple of things had to happen to these. The green is too green. I mean, unfortunately, it needs to be cut back a little bit. So I cut back the green. I mixed some green, and I did that as a wash. I then, using the big brush, it's not a problem. And then when you need the little one for it in the corners and stuff, you just use the little one in the corner. So then I had to bring in all the detail. And so I did that with these sort of grime colours here. And that brought out all the detail all along the sides. Okay. Then the final thing I needed to do is, because these things had been, you got a lot of sand and stuff in that era. So I mixed up some sort of sand colour there and applied that to the sides and halfway up the top and the roof. And you'll find when you do that, it just, and you use the clear, it disappears. So you have to sort of probably be a little bit over enthusiastic with the powders to get a right result. So, and yes, I will be changing those couplers. These are plastic, and plastic couplers are just no good. Just a complete waste of time. So, so yeah, here's the other one. Oh geez, muck on them just there. So I'm happy they turned out. And again, just mask off around the windows. You don't have to be, uber careful with that. You just need to be make sure they're masked off. It's you're not creating the Mona Lisa. You're weathering locomotives. So and then of course the final thing is I put a bit of exhaust on that. Again, using the brush and the airbrush and so forth. So the rest of the Murray River Bridge fleet is over here. So I'm pretty happy with the end result. There we go. So, and yeah, so hopefully that sort of explains to you how I do what I do there. And I hope Glenn's going to be happy. These are all looking pretty good. I'll be boxing them up for him, and yeah, I'll catch up with him real soon. So I'm sure he'll be happy. All right, I hope that was a little bit informative for you, and have a good one. Cheers, guys.